Exclusive contracted novel by Feilu Fiction Network. Gundam crosses the world of machine warfare from Seed, mercenary who did not originally belong to this world unexpectedly arrived in the world of Gundam Seed and became a special adjuster. Morin Xiang. Coordinator, a product born from artificial means. As time goes by, the contradiction between humans and new humans becomes increasingly irreconcilable. United, ZA. FT represents two opposing camps, a prolonged confrontation that ultimately led to both sides declaring war. With unparalleled physical fitness and fluttering butterfly wings, Morin bravely stepped onto the battlefield to uphold the beauty in his heart. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. 1. Morin Sound. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Dee dee, a ringing bell reminded me of a robust man with black hair and amber pupils in a luxurious room. He was about 186 meters tall and bounced up from the bed. He turned his neck and made a clicking sound, muttering to himself. This annoying alarm clock. Opening the curtains and looking at this cylindrical world, there were already automatic trams on the road. His location is Heliopolis. Morin is his name, and he has a biological mad father. Julian Xiang. If his physical fitness is compared comprehensively, besides his intelligence, he can be said to be the only perfect super adjuster, Kira Yamato, and his intelligence is also above average among the adjusters. Morin is not from this world. In his past life, he was a mercenary at Blue Star and had only two hobbies in his life. Gundam and beauty. He is not short of money. When he has no tasks, he stays at home during the day and looks at Gundam in front of the old man. At night, he goes out to be the groom. After obtaining the tablet-sized computer of the mission target in a mission, the base exploded and sent him directly to this unfamiliar and very familiar world. Gundam Seed. At the beginning of CE52, Dr. Eugene Xiang, who had already fallen into a frenzy, sought the support of Aube flag for the last time in the face of a reputation crisis and sponsorship suspension. Dr. Xiang used his current experience and technology to replace the unique spatial perception gene sequence, NT, fused with the flag family on his genetic foundation, and directly cultivated 4 experimental subjects using the strongest female egg cells in the Research Institute to cultivate an artificial uterus. However, 3 of them died on the spot at birth. When the last 4th baby opened his eyes, Morin happened to occupy this body and was able to survive. Along with him came the computer of the final target, which directly transformed into a system and coexisted with Morin. However, he could only see a panel and the progress bar at the bottom in his mind. On May 18, CE55, Dr. Xiang's twin children, Kira Xiang and Ka Jieli Xiang, were finally born. Kira is a product of genetic adjustment, while Ka Jieli was born naturally. At the age of 3, Morin, who could run around, heard a ding sound in his mind, and the following words appeared on the panel. Ding, it was discovered that the protagonist of this world was born, and the mecha plane battle system was officially launched. Task. Play the little JJ of the newly born protagonist Kira Yamato. Reward. Beginner NT awakens, slightly enhances mental power. Morin looked at the panel with a bewildered expression on his face. What's the situation? Playing JJ, this is something that a system can do. At this moment, Dr. Xiang felt greatly relieved as he watched the birth of his 2 children. He believed that Kira was his ideal, while the child named Morin at his feet, because the test data was not a perfect hexagon, had only been used as an experimental subject for 3 years, and could be considered Kira Xiang's sacrifice. Dr. Xiang and the people around him did not realize that Kira was not born crying. Morin quietly touched Dr. Xiang's side, jumped onto the nearby platform, reached out his finger, bent his finger, and hit the target accurately, followed by a loud cry. Dr. Xiang finally realized that the child was not crying at birth. He turned his head in shock and looked at Morin, who appeared at an unknown time. Morin only glanced at Dr. Xiang before leaving. Arriving at my own small room, I saw an update on the panel in my mind. Task completed. Reward distribution, awaken beginner NT, slightly enhance mental power. Morin felt a clear mind and a significant improvement in his perception of the surrounding objects. Originally, it could still be like this, which means even if I am a waste, I can still grow into a monster. Little did they know that even without this chicken-like system, he would still grow into a monster. Less than half a year after the birth of Kira, the colonial satellite began to be attacked by the blue Persian chrysanthemum, and Dr. and Mrs. Xiang were also assassinated and shot. Before dying, Kira, Kakari, and the remaining experimental body, Morin, were handed over to his wife via Xiang's sister, Yantian. With a lot of help, Yantian went to the United Arab Emirates. At that time, Uzmi, who was not yet the prime minister, took Kakari as his adopted daughter and gave her the name Kakari Yura Asha. And Kira was continued to be raised by Yantian and her husband and changed her surname to Kira Yamato. However, Morin, who had always been disliked by her grandmother and uncle, was thrown into the Dawn Society and accepted by Alice Simmons, who was still an intern at the time. Perhaps because her parents were orphaned by the Blue Osmanthus, Simmons chose to adopt him as his younger brother, but his name did not change, just Morin. In CE 67, Plant successfully researched the humanoid mobile weapon Mobile Suit and tested the first aircraft Jin, marking the official entry of the Seed world into the MS era. In the past decade or so, the system has only released one mission. To enter Neptune, while Morin's reward is the blueprint for the heretic skeleton version of Babato's Sirius and the improved version of UC World Soy Sauce Machine's original Stone Gundam Nuclear Energy. These two machines were also his own leisure works when he was a Jiaolao in his previous life. And without hesitation, he threw it directly to his own sister, Simmons, the beautiful woman. Because Simmons is a steadfast citizen of Aube, Morin's camp was confirmed from the beginning. Today is November of CE 70, in a mansion in Naples, Morin was awakened by an alarm and his dedicated communicator also rang. The communication device in the DDD room was connected, and a mature and charming lady appeared on the screen. The lady blushed at the moment of connection, then pouted and complained directly. "Morin, how many times have you said, put on your clothes and talk to me?" The beautiful woman who appeared on the screen had been with him since childhood, and it can be said that she knew him from the bottom of her heart. She had told him many times about his sleeping problem, but there was no improvement. "Oh my dear sister, habit has become natural. Haven't you gotten used to it for so many years?" Wait a moment. Morin also knew not to go too far, after all, she was the only sister in the world who had given her warmth. She put on a casual outfit and appeared again in front of the screen. At present, Erica Simmons, the sister of Morin, is 31 years old this year. Due to taking care of Morin, she did not get married and have children like in the original drama. She is currently the brain of the Aube Dawn Society. 2. United, Aube's MS. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Morin, do you remember the 2 drawings you sent me 2 years ago? Now that the alien Sirius is basically completed, only the program debugging is needed. That drawing is so perfect that I can't believe it. Are you still unwilling to tell me where it came from? What else can I do besides plant? Just my brain can handle this. I don't need to ask how it came about specifically. The original Stone Gundam will definitely be my exclusive body in the future, and I will destroy all the information, especially the spiritual link helmet and system related to the floating cannon. As for the use of nuclear energy, there is no need to worry, I have my own way. The heretical design is universal, and I also asked you to hand it over to Mina, the pillar of the Heavenly Emperor. However, Sirius must be built first, and I can't control the design of the universal system. You can understand my physical fitness, so please help me make a special tuning system first, without considering G.force, even if it is a combination battery backpack for the heavenly star. Wolves must also achieve triple the speed limit of the current Shigu, and this cannot be changed. Director Simmons listened to the one-handed forehead support, and this child has always had a special idea since childhood, especially focusing on war. When he was young, he even specially brought AD to study the military strategy of ancient Eastern powers. Although he did not learn very well, his physical fitness is truly remarkable. Morin, you know the situation at our house. If Mina discovers our actions, we may be in danger. That woman's eyes are more focused on interests, giving him heresy is enough. Don't worry, just her personality will agree, and even the Qian Sahak family, who made the original stone, may be willing to accept it. Alright, now you can go directly to the Dawn hand to debug your body. Your special tuning system is actually ready. Morin, are you really planning? We are assisting Earth in jointly developing MS, and it is also coming to an end. If something happens, Neptune may really become a battlefield as you said. The lion is going to equip itself with fangs, and if nothing unexpected happens, besides my original stone Gundam, he should also prepare a big gift for his daughter Kajiali. Sister, there must be a war between Union and Plant, and it's impossible for Aube to be alone. I tried my best to obtain the blueprints of these two machines from the intelligence trafficker back then, which was to confirm this result, but we all know about Aube's situation and can't resist it. In fact, Simmons also knew it, but he was worried about Aube and had a bit of luck in his heart. Otherwise, he wouldn't have secretly defected to Uzmi's side. My dear sister, you've been working hard for such a long time. Take a break for yourself. When I land on Earth, I estimate that the mass production of the Heretic M1 will also enter the final debugging stage. Let my three little maids become test pilots, they are also adjusters. That's all for now, so I'll go on a date. Simmons looked at the closed communicator and his forehead was bulging with veins. This younger brother, who is over 175 centimeters tall at the age of 14, has been dating since then. Morin, who was about to turn 18, spent nearly 4 years indulging in many young children. He was a scumbag, but none of them came to him afterwards. But as a sister, I don't like his style very much. Morin, dressed in casual clothes, arrived at a CAFA near the 37th factory area. He deliberately created an encounter and met Matthias Ramias, the captain of the future Archangel. I really like this ladylike beauty Morin, and this is also the first woman Morin came to this world to approach with a purpose. Morin found a seat to sit down and ordered 2 classic glasses. Shortly after, a man named Matthias Ramias, wearing a duckbill cap, a height of 170, a hot figure, and also dressed in casual clothes, entered the door. The stream went straight to Morin and sat down, picked up coffee and started drinking. The two had no super friendly relationship. After all, she still had a captain's fiancé A.E., who was the middle-aged man who was killed in the explosion on the day the Archangel set off. It's refreshing. It's more comfortable to have a cup of coffee here, said Matteo. Why, it seems like you've been very tired lately. Has your boss abused you and made you work overtime? Morin joked, as they never asked each other about their professions. Their meetings and conversations are still limited to this coffee shop. Almost so, rushing to meet the deadline. The project is not small, and you can make a lot of money, giggle. Mashua was also happy because the G-series body was successfully assembled, so he made a joke. Then you should wait for the project to end and get the bonus to copy the boss's job. The boss who squeezes employees will never be a good boss. Cluck, then I won't have a job. Who will support me? What do you think of me? I'm good. Looking, have a high income, and more importantly, I'm in good health, Morin said, revealing 2 rows of white teeth. Ma and I didn't expect him to climb so smoothly, but let's not say he was so excited just now. Morin in front of her is the most comfortable man she has met in her 26 years of life, and she wants to think about her fiancé again. Forget it, I don't want to, it's a headache. Thank you for treating me to coffee. Next time I'll treat you, that's settled. I'm going back to work. Goodbye Morin, said Matthias with a thin face. She put on her hat and ran away. Watching the figure of Matthias walking out, Morin smiled slightly, drank the remaining coffee in one breath, and walked out. It was time for him to adjust his own body. Arriving at the 35th factory area, this is the R&D factory for 5 heterodox special machines. Morin's heterodox Sirius is also among them and has been assembled. In addition, there is a red machine and a blue machine that are about to be assembled. On the other side, there is still a lot of work to be done on the gold machine, Mina, and purple machine, Gina. This time, due to the drawings provided by Morin Advance, the development of heterodox machines is faster than in the original drama. Mina also followed Morin's suggestion to slow down the development speed of her gold machine, as Morin promised to take the performance of the gold machine to another level. When Morin arrived at his body, a staff member immediately came over and said, "Colonel Morin, the special tuning system for the alien Sirius constellation has just been installed. This is the parameter panel, please take a look first. Is this parameter really okay?" Morin's current identity is that of a heretic tester and also an active officer in the Aube Defense Forces Special Service Battalion. He casually took the parameter panel and began to read it. After seeing the data parameters, my heart was also greatly shaken, which is really beyond the control of ordinary humans. Test according to the original parameters first, and adjust locally if there are any issues. Morin looked at the tall body in front of him. Every time he saw it, he felt shocked and eager to sit up and drive it to battle. 3. Sirius Test. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Morin boarded the cockpit, closed the door, and opened the projection screen, completely unable to see pixels and no frame rate, just like a naked-eye perspective. Although it was not a holographic image cockpit, there was no sense of spatial constraint, which was the feeling of Morin sitting in the cockpit. Press the start switch and the central control interface will light up. Generatio, unsubdued, nuclear, drive, assault, module. The meaning is a comprehensive and continuously reinforced mobile weapon system structure for all fields. After the startup screen, Sirius's eyes flashed a green light, indicating that the machine had started. Continuing to turn on the PS armor switch, some painted areas lit up. The main color of the body is white, partially purple-blue, with a small amount of yellow and red decorative colors. Paired with slightly exposed bones such as the waist and back of the calves, the rough and aggressive style gives the first impression. It's a bit ugly. All personnel should leave immediately, shouted a researcher. Morin pulled the control lever, stepped on the propulsion pedal, and the alien Sirius flew out of the Naku at high speed. The powerful G-force pressed Morin tightly against the seat back. After experiencing initial discomfort, Morin began testing, maneuvering, rotating, emergency stopping, spinning, flipping, explosive acceleration, and a series of basic actions. After that, Morin began to perform. "Colonel Morin, please stop. We have just completed the basic action data collection and some data needs to be adjusted. I am the driver, it is up to me to decide whether adjustments are needed and continue collecting data." After a strong response, Morin continued to drive Sirius in a difficult maneuver, dodging irregularly left and right before grabbing the gun and shooting. He then turned upside down and fired a linear cannon towards the rear, followed by a loop turn and a large angle change of direction. The powerful G-force brought by each action could be fatal to the driver, but Morin completed it all. This was his first time driving and he was not yet familiar with the situation. This is simply not an action that humans can perform. Even the most advanced adjusters find it difficult to complete these actions, let alone continuous actions. It's like a monster, the researcher said, trembling just now. Afterwards, Morin continued to increase his driving force, with a speed that was more than 3 times faster than the current ZAF's strongest aircraft, the Shigu. Then he made a sudden stop, causing Morin's body to ache from the seatbelt. However, he gritted his teeth and persevered. After stopping, he carefully felt his body and did not feel any abnormalities. The sensors inside the body that detected the driver's body also did not sound any abnormal alarms. After completing this action, the entire laboratory became completely silent, and everyone's mouths opened wide in surprise. Colonel Morin, please stop testing immediately and return to the base, otherwise I will report to Director Simmons of Dawn Society. The researcher grabbed Mike directly and roared, knowing that the young master's identity was the director's younger brother. If there were any accidents, the entire laboratory would have to be buried with him. Alright, let's start with the first round of testing. Sirius can return. Morin manipulated Sirius back to the granny house. Just as he got off the body, a group of researchers and medical staff directly tied him to the medical room and began a comprehensive physical examination. 2 hours later, Morin, who was only wearing shorts, sat on a chair with his chin on one hand and a data report in his hand on the other. In front of him stood a research team of nearly 30 people, including many beautiful female adjusters who occasionally looked at the protruding position of his pants. The adjusters not only strengthened male abilities but also enhanced female physical strength, so there were many adjusters in the family who were disharmonious. Colonel Morin, I strongly demand a reduction in the parameters of your body. Although your body is not currently experiencing any problems, we cannot guarantee that there will be no problems in the future. Moreover, the armed system of your body is severely biased. With such a powerful body, the long-range weapon is only the backpack's linear magnetic railgun. Therefore, we have decided to add a foldable linear beam rifle to the left arm of Sirius, which is 11% more powerful than the Earth United G-Series universal rifle. It can directly penetrate PS armor, and the energy is provided by the body's built-in battery energy pack. Morin was surprised when he heard this. In his consciousness, the battles between ACE and beam rifles were almost ineffective, only increasing the opponent's energy and body energy loss. Therefore, he only installed 2 pistol-style beam rifles on the side skirts, with a power of only 60% of a general purpose rifle. He could only break the PS armor by hitting 2 or 3 shots in a row within 10 seconds. However, he agreed that his brain was not as good as these researchers. Although much stronger than ordinary people, there is still a gap in the middle and upper ranks among the adjusters compared to this group of top brainpower individuals. Okay, Director Els, we'll do as you say. Hurry up the preparation of the machine and we'll have the second round of testing later. Director Els immediately erupted upon hearing Morin's words and pointed at him, saying, Impossible, I'll tell you Morin, don't try to activate Sirius for at least 3 days. For the sudden outbreak of Director Els, Morin was a bit puzzled and heard him continue to say. I'm telling you, Director Simmons must have received the first round of test data now, and she will definitely not allow you to continue testing. Take a good rest at home before we talk. Upon hearing his sister's name, Morin felt helpless. He could already imagine the angry expression on her beautiful face. Helplessly pointing to Director Els, he said. You're tough, we'll see. After finishing speaking, he got up and went to the dressing room. Along the way, there were many unbridled gazes casting at him. Upon returning home, Morin was unexpectedly scolded by her own sister. Morin, you're acting too recklessly. Do you know how dangerous this is? Sirius can be said to be Aube's first machine to enter the testing phase. There was no data reference before, but your test data this time is simply not something that humans can do. Watching his sister's angry expression, Morin felt very warm in his heart. He liked the feeling of being cared for and immediately compromised, saying, Sister, let's do it this way. Today's test data is tentatively set as the limit data, which is almost the limit that the Sirius skeleton can withstand. Then, adjust the body parameters to 60% of the limit as the normal mode, seal the limit data separately in the system, and it will only be activated in emergency situations. Simmons breathed a sigh of relief when he saw his brother's compromise and agreed directly. And his first test data also appeared in front of two people at the same time, the Prime Minister of Aube, Uzmi Ula Asha, and the Shadow Army of Aube, Delon Mina Sahak. After seeing the data, the two of them couldn't calm down for a long time, especially Mina. No one had the right to question their loyalty to Aube. Someone, get ready for the shuttle. I'm going to make a trip to Naples myself, Mina decided. 4. Delon Mina Sahak. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the 3 days after Morin completed his first test, he was never alone in his room, as if it had been agreed upon. The female researchers present at the Dawn Society lined up to arrive. Morin also refused to accept anyone. At first, he thought it was the affair of a young woman from a certain family, but the three of them later realized that this was a premeditated negotiation result. But if I don't suffer, I'll just accept it. After resting at home for 3 days, Morin arrived at the testing ground, ready to start the second round of armed testing. Colonel Morin, are you resting well? Is there anything uncomfortable? Director Els ran over and asked. Morin, wearing a driver's suit and holding a helmet, looked at the 40-something-old boy and said. These days have been very good, there shouldn't be any problem with the machine's debugging, right? Well, the parameter adjustment is 60% of the first round, as requested by Director Simmons. Okay, put all your weapons on. This time, I plan to go straight to battle. The debris between the route from Nepalese to the moon is filled with space pirates. This time, I will use the pirates' blood to give the Sirius flag. Are you not afraid of being discovered? Go get a large civilian shuttle, erase the number, and use it as a pirate ship. Even if it's discovered, it doesn't matter. At most, everything around it will be destroyed. For Morin's bloody Mandarin, the researchers were not accustomed to it, and then came a pleasant Imperial sister's voice. I agree. Morin turned his head and saw Mina, who was tall and almost perfect, walking over in a military uniform surrounded by more than 10 guards. Oh, Your Highness Goddess, don't worry. Morin instantly changed his small face, his sunny smile making it hard to imagine what this guy had just said. You should be serious. You really surprised me. You are really a madman when you have just conducted a round of test. Mina has already contacted Molin, and he is the only one who dares to molest Mina so far. You're far behind your younger brother. What would you like you to personally go there for? Knowing it, I want to see your second round of testing with my own eyes. As you wish, Your Highness the Goddess. After speaking, Morin gave a greasy gentlemanly salute, and Mina's eyebrows twitched wildly as she watched. Humph, I'll be ready for the pirate ship within an hour. After tossing her cloak, she turned around and left, afraid she wouldn't be able to control her emotions in front of everyone. Tisk, you're really a queen with a perfect demeanor, it's genuine and genuine, Morin muttered to himself. 1 hour later, Morin and Sirius were on a civilian transport ship heading towards the active area of the Gravel Belt Pirates. 3 hours later, the transport ship that Morin was on was unexpectedly spotted. 2 space cruisers appeared on the radar, and immediately the other side did not shout, but directly dispatched 14 MAs and 1 Gene. Are you here? Let's start then. The transport ship opened the hatch, and Morin stepped on the thruster, causing Sirius to rush out directly. The pirate side also detected an unknown MS and became nervous, while the pirate leader was excited, thinking that his power could add another MS. Little ones, take this MS for me. Today, the bounty will all double. After speaking, MA and Jean gathered around like they had beaten chicken blood. Morin did not use a beam rifle, but instead relied on speed to directly skim over an MA. He stumbled and passed by. The complex beam sword of his right arm's attack shield opened, cutting the MA in half. He turned around and accelerated to another MA, then made another 2 cuts behind it. He then retracted the beam sword, grabbed the pistol with both hands, and fired at it while moving, blasting 6 MAs one after another. The pirate leader sitting inside Jean felt a tingling sensation when he saw it, losing 8 MAs in front of him. He knew he had encountered a tough problem, but it actually aroused his anger and vowed to destroy the unnamed machine. Morin leisurely wandered between the gunfire of Ma and Jean, until now not even a piece of paint had peeled off. After lighting 2 more MAs, he put away his 2 guns and took out his large sword behind him, chasing like an eagle catching a chick at high speed and chopping off the last 4 MAs. The pirate leader was afraid, and after only 4 minutes, his own Jean couldn't do it at all. He opened the full-channel communication and said, "Who the hell are you? Did you provoke me and consider the outcome?" Upon hearing the sound from the radio, Morin immediately turned off and accelerated at full speed towards Jean. Jean immediately dodged and swam away, but Morin made a few turns and caught up. The beam sword with both arms attacking the shield unfolded, cutting Jean straight into a stick. After putting away the beam sword, he used his hand covered in PS armor to directly pierce Jean's chest and crush the cockpit. Then, he used a folding beam rifle to detonate Jean and directly destroyed 2 pirate ships. The entire journey took 12 minutes, with 2 pirate ships, 14 MAs, and 1 Jean all destroyed. At this time, Sirius also sounded an alarm, and there was a problem with the heat dissipation of the skeleton. Heterodoxy is ultimately a versatile skeleton. "I really look forward to the day when the original Stone Gundam is built," sighed Morin in the cockpit. Mina, who watched the entire battle, was shocked beyond words. Even ZFT Ace RAU-LU Cruiser, who was driving the strongest ZFT in the Battle of the World Tree, achieved the highest record, but his efficiency was far inferior to that of Morin's previous battle. This person must be firmly grasped in their hands. After the testing was completed, before Mina took action, Uzmi personally appointed a new unit. The Aube Defense Independent Army, with Morin serving as a major and directly under the Prime Minister's jurisdiction. 5. The upcoming battle. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After eliminating the unknown pirate organization, researchers made improvements to the body, especially in terms of skeleton heat dissipation, which is not necessary for a universal model. In the following month, Morin piloted Sirius for multiple experiments and added an enhanced beam rifle on the other side of the backpack. Director Els suggested that it could not be used, but it could not be. After installing the rifle, he, who had a bit of balance and OCD, was finally satisfied. After the final test at the end of December, Morin requested the addition of a wolf tail above the rear skirt of Sirius and below the thruster, similar to a linear control floating gun, but not a gun but a sword. It was used for close combat as a man. For Morin, who has NT's super space recognition ability, it is not difficult to manually control a linear floating weapon. Because Morin provided the drawings in advance, the Aube side completed the research and development earlier than in the original drama. Currently, the purple and gold planes of the Sahak family have been shipped, and the red and blue planes have been packaged and placed at an inconspicuous exit on the satellite, waiting for their drivers to drive them away. In Morin's room, he is on a call with Mina. "Morin, are you sure you want to hand over 2 machines to these 2 people? One is an unknown scrap merchant, and the other is a mercenary of the Sidewinder. The key is that they are both natural people. Believe me, they are the most suitable drivers. Although Luo Qiu is a natural person, his ability in system development is difficult to match even in Dawn society. As for Tsong Yunhai, he is known as the strongest natural person, and his physical fitness even exceeds many adjusters. I have reached an agreement with the 2 of them, and Luo Qiu will assist your natural person in developing OS, while Tsong Yunhai will debug the machine as a natural person. If hired, the machine is the reward. And those 2 machines are also under the name of special installation machines, probably similar to mass-produced machines. In short, there should be no surprises in this matter. Since the Blood Valentine's Day incident, the conflict between the plant and the United Nations has entered a stalemate and widespread spread is inevitable. If Aube wants to reduce losses, the armed forces must be strong. Mina, I understand your feelings, and I assure you that I will do my best to fight. You are also very clear about my reasons for fighting. Now it's up to the Lion Lord to decide what to do. Your exclusive collective research and development has been going smoothly, and on behalf of the Sahak family, I fully support it. Once the complete data of Sirius is transmitted back, we will definitely accelerate the progress. Don't worry, I will set off with the Joint Archangel. Even if it's a battle with Plant, they won't think Sirius is Aube's body. It won't matter when they know, right? They say your brain is not working well, but I think your brain is better than anyone else. Mina pursed her lips. Morin can be said to be the only man who makes her helpless. Let's start with this. I also need to prepare. Although it's best to catch a spy, it feels unlikely. You and the allied Captain Ramius. Oh, my goddess, are you nervous now? Morin's face was not serious. Upon hearing this, Mina's forehead burst with veins, but she was not sure what attitude she had towards Morin. On January 15, CE 71, the Pacific Tropic of Cancer was active, and ZAFT began attacking Kaohsiung Cosmic Harbor. Upon seeing this news, Morin knew that the starting point of the plot was about to arrive in about 10 days. He no longer remembered the specific time, but still remembered an important event, which was the day 2 days after the fall of Kaohsiung Cosmic Harbor. This is all thanks to his strong spiritual power after his rebirth, which has helped his memory. 5 days later, the joint GAT.X Series MS and the latest cutting-edge space battleship Archangel were completed. Around 3 p.m. in the afternoon, Morin arrived alone at the CAFA, which still had 2 classic cups. However, the first few times he had finished them all by himself, and it is unknown whether anyone had consumed the other cup. The doorstep of Dingling was opened, and still wearing a duckbill cap and a tight-fitting casual suit, Bienlio Ramias walked in. She was also pleasantly surprised to see Morin again. Why are you available today? Have you finished the project yet? Morin asked. Just after finishing my work, I sneaked out to have a cup of coffee, hee. At this moment, Mashio was a bit mischievous, and the mischievous lady was a man's poison. Don't laugh like that, I'm afraid I can't help but turn into a beast, Morin quickly exaggerated and waved his hand. Cluck, cluck, it seems that you've been in a good mood lately. Tell me, have you been in a relationship, little brother? Matthias leaned forward and asked. The table sank into an exaggerated depth in front of her, causing a slight heat in Molin's lower abdomen. This sister is really a fairy, Morin thought to himself and then asked. Will you continue working on the satellite after the project is completed, or will you need to go somewhere else? Ma Sulphur showed a regretful expression at this moment. If there was anyone else here who could help her relax besides work, then it was only the person in front of her. If we leave the satellite, even the person in front of us will no longer exist. Ma Sulphur's life is very monotonous, he is already a member of the Secret Service Department, and there are hardly any friends to talk about, plus that middle-aged and elderly captain's fiancée. I'm very sorry, I'm afraid I have to leave. So, how does today's coffee count for me? Said Matteo immediately. No, I have already paid. I owe you this cup of coffee. Please treat me again next time we meet. Trust me, we will meet again, Morin said meaningfully. The two chatted casually for a while before parting ways. I hope the next time we meet, we'll give you a surprise instead of a scare. P.S. The author's favorite female character in the Seed series is the captain. I believe many readers share the same view, right? 6. The Day of Destiny. You are listening at novelfull.audio. On January 23, CE 71, Kaohsiung Port fell the next day, in the meteorite resource satellite zone belonging to Nepalese. A Nazca-class high-speed destroyer and a Laurasia-class mobile warrior frigate belonging to ZAFT were temporarily suspended. Inside the Nazca-class destroyer, ZAFT's first elite pilot, Lao Lu Cruz, wearing a white face and a white mask, was looking at the photo just passed back by a spy in his hand, which was the latest developed G-series aircraft by the joint venture. "Don't be so serious, Addis," Cruz said calmly. "However, Captain, the order given by the Council is to wait for Aube's response before taking action," said the captain in black. "That's too late. My intuition tells me that if we don't dispose of these here, we will have to pay a great price in the future. The latest MS from the coalition must be taken over before they move out." 10 minutes later, 2 warships each dispatched 2 transport boats to land on the Aube resource satellite, led by 5 elite soldiers in red, followed closely by more than 20 ZAFT soldiers. After deciphering the infrared safety protection equipment, they all flew into the satellite's interior and sneaked towards Heliopolis. At the same time, the interior of the satellite remained peaceful and unaware of the impending disaster. At a public transportation stop at a technical university, the child and girlfriend Miliaria went to the park to take the bus with their academic friend Kira Yamato. They met the official second-generation flower of the same school, Fry Alsta. The two of them greeted each other and joked with each other, noticing that Kira's expression clearly showed interest in Fry. In the midst of the commotion, 3 serious-looking people appeared behind everyone, 2 men and 1 woman. The leading lady coughed lightly and said, "Excuse me, if it's not urgent, please let us pass first." Several students were intimidated by the 3 people's temperament and directly gave up their seats. On the other side of the road, Morin sat on a bench drinking coffee and witnessed everything. When he saw Kira, he still felt inexplicably angry in his heart. The 3 people on board were Lieutenant Nadal Bakilialu, the deputy captain, and Lieutenant Arnold Norman, the divine helmsman. The 3 of them were sitting on an unmanned public tram, and the lady said, "What a peaceful scene. On Earth, children as big as them have already gone to the battlefield." Morin watched as Dada and the divine helmsman left, throwing away their coffee and taking a taxi in another direction towards the location of Sirius. "It's time to start, Kira. My foolish little brother, why don't you play with them first?" Morin, who was muttering to himself, suddenly felt a bit off stage and quickly shook his head. He was not the younger brother's control. ZAFT's 5 elite members in red led more than 20 subordinates to find the storage location of the G-series aircraft, as well as the Archangel. The leader in red made a few gestures, and everyone dispersed to start installing time bombs, while the joint officers were discussing something in the observation room. After the Nadal trio entered the base and changed into a military attaché, they drifted towards the observation room where the captain was located. 3 minutes later, ZFT quietly left and then hid in a highland waiting. Boom 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 boom. A violent explosion occurred in the 37th factory area, and Matthias immediately organized personnel to order. Drive all G out and immediately contact the Archangel. And the Archangel was also bombed on this side, the entire command and observation room was destroyed, and all officers inside, including the captain, were killed in action. Bakaluru was also knocked unconscious by the explosion in the passage. At the beginning of the explosion, the satellite command center and the joint transport plane communicator on standby in the spaceport suddenly received a burst of interference, and the communicator made a series of calls but did not respond. They understood what the situation was. "Chief Control, there is severe communication interference. This is an act of war." A MA pilot on the joint battleship put on a helmet and immediately ran to fly his own aircraft to launch an attack. This person was the joint ace pilot, known as the Eagle of Endymion. Mula flag. Unfortunately, at this moment, I don't know what's going on G's side. Everyone should pay attention to safety. After speaking, he stepped on the pedal and drove the Mobius Zero out. In this world where miscellaneous soldiers can only survive for 2 minutes, the United MA is eliminated one by one like a toy in front of Zaf's MS. Bastard, it's really difficult to deal with. Mu drove the Zero and kept aiming and shooting with a linear cannon. After a few minutes of fighting, all the allied MAs were killed, and only the Zero was still struggling to support it. He had already injured 3 Gene, but the situation was still not optimistic. At this moment, both Mu and Cruz inside the USS Nazca felt each other's presence through telepathy. Oh. It seems like something amazing has infiltrated. I'm also going to attack, prepare my Shigu. Before long, Cruz drove the captain and Sigu out and headed straight for Mu. Lao Lu Cruz, it's actually him. It's really troublesome. I hope G can hold on. After several rounds of fighting, both of them flew towards the interior of the satellite. And the joint transport ship also collided with the outer wall of the satellite and exploded into debris. Morin is still inside the Sirius aircraft in the 35th factory area, with a packed weapon bag and personal belongings next to the body. Listening to the explosive vibrations coming from not far away, he held his hands behind his head and crossed his legs to stare at the situation of Naku in the 37th area of the display screen in front of him. Watching Masu raise his gun to counterattack during the assault, he still felt a bit worried. But Morin can only endure it now. He wants to try to change the direction of Seed directly and bring down Cruz. 3G.Series machines have already been pulled out, and 3 red clothes from ZAFT have sat on them to start debugging the program. This guy is really good, Dayaka. How's your side? Isaac, this thing is really amazing. I like it. Nigel, how is it on your end? Wait a moment, it will be ready soon. The program is in a mess. A young man in red with green hair quickly typed the keyboard. Before long, the 3 Gundam cameras stood up and headed directly towards the outside of the satellite. The remaining 2 should be inside, Rusty. Let's rush in. Aslan, be careful and follow me. After speaking, the 2 of them rushed towards Naku with a few green-clad miscellaneous soldiers. 7. Gundam stands on the ground. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Sitting in Sirius, Morin saw 2 red-clad men and a few miscellaneous soldiers rushing into Naku on the monitor and sat up straight. After all, she was the woman she had set her sights on. The feeling of not being able to go out despite knowing that she might be injured made Morin very restless, with her eyes fixed on Matthias who was still struggling to support her. Nakuni, Mashua led several soldiers to fight to the death. A boy in plain clothes appeared on the 2nd floor, watching the battle below. He had already been here once before, but the escape passage over there had been destroyed. He turned his head and saw a green-clothed man holding a gun targeting a beautiful woman on the 1st floor, shouting loudly. Be careful behind you. Matthias turned around and sat next to the assault cockpit, while firing his gun and killing the miscellaneous soldier. Come down quickly, you'll be beaten to death right up there. Masuo knew that the boy upstairs continued to stay on a dead end. Aslan, that one over there is mine now. Hurry up and take this big guy first. This red-clothed person is probably the most casual red-clothed person to die in Zaf's history, and before he could finish speaking, he was shot in the head. Rasti, Aslan shouted to his comrades, then went crazy and charged forward. You are Asla. Kira. Yamato. Masu struggled to lift his gun and wanted to shoot, but Aslan jumped a few times and went straight to the cockpit of the nearby Holy Shield. He glanced at his former friend and jumped in. Masu pushed Kira in and then sat down on his own. Morin, who watched the entire battle, clenched his right fist tightly, and the plot did not change at all. Matthias was still injured, and Kira was still heavily attacked. Aslan, you kid, I remember this shot and will definitely repay it twice in the future. After muttering to himself, he stared at the monitor intently. He really wanted to rush out now and chop off the unprogrammed holy shield. Sitting in the cockpit, Matthias pressed the start button and the assault's eyes lit up with yellow lights. Matthias struggled to pull the control lever to lift the 72-ton giant off the ground. The assault's hands and feet broke open the fixed clips and slowly stood up, causing a violent explosion in the surrounding area. At the moment when the surveillance footage disappeared, Morin saw Gundam standing on the ground amidst the flames. For some reason, Todd and his girlfriend Miliaria, as well as Sei and a short Kazi, were still running around the street and ran to the vicinity of Naku in the 37th factory area, where a Jean was occasionally shooting at the surroundings. After two loud bangs, two grey MS appeared from the thick smoke. Afterwards, just like the original drama, Kira changed the program on the spot, smashed a Jean, and then worked with friends to fix it in a park. Morin watched the surveillance footage all along, and had to admit that Kira's mind couldn't keep up. He was able to adjust parameters on the spot, but he definitely couldn't directly build a complex program like him, and he didn't make any mistakes halfway through. What an enviable brain power. What should I do to you? Morin had always been conflicted about how to deal with Kira, who was half father and half mother. However, considering this kid's trait of only grabbing friends and wives, he would definitely not make things better for him. About 20 minutes later, a white Shigu and an orange Mobius Zero suddenly popped out of the satellite channel, and the two planes engaged in direct combat inside the satellite. "Hurry up and install the equipment," shouted Masu in panic. "After the assault is loaded with the gun, directly open the PS armor and use the body to block incoming bullets." "Have you finally arrived?" Sirius, who had already been activated, quietly opened the door to Naku and picked up the beam rifle from his back to aim outside. He did not open the system to aim, but directly aimed through the monitor's naked eye and hand, because once the body was targeted and locked, an alarm would sound. Unconsciously, Cruz cut off the linear main gun of Type 0 with a sword and headed towards the direction of the assault, but as soon as the body turned around, it remembered the loud alarm sound. Kira fired a shot directly at full power, with a crimson beam rushing straight towards Shigu. Cruz instinctively shifted his body with special genes, but was unable to completely avoid it. His right arm was melted, and a huge energy bombardment opened a large hole in the satellite wall. Just as Shigu's right arm melted, Morin pulled the trigger and said, "It's now." Morin fired a single shot directly, then opened his sights and fired 3 consecutive shots, blocking Shigu's movement space. What? How could there be more? Cruz stood up with sweat and hair all over his body, looking at the 4 beams of light that shot him. With rich combat experience, he gave up his 2 legs and pulled one up, then Shigu's waist tilted back to its limit. His legs were directly blasted, and the 2 beams collided, causing the cockpit to fly by. Cruz, sitting inside, swore that this was the most dangerous time in his life, and there was no time to see who actually shot the cold gun, directly piloted Shigu to escape from the broken satellite wall. "Che, you are currently the best driver. Losing your leg to protect the cockpit, even if the top 4 are driving the G.Series Gundam, it is difficult to make this move. It is not easy to kill you, after all, you are the biggest villain of this era. Morin is not discouraged, there may be a chance to fight again in the future." Where exactly did the attack come from? It could have directly made Shigu give up his legs to save his life. Mu, sitting in the broken Zero, also saw such a disheveled Cruz for the first time. How could there be another one? What's going on? 4 of them have already been taken away. Ma Soa was also confused, and she supervised and participated in the construction of the G-series. She was convinced that there were only 5 GS, so the attack just now must have been from the Aube side. Kira sat in the cockpit, still shocked by the shot she had just fired. Suddenly, an alarm appeared on the attacking radar, and an unfamiliar aircraft was nearby. She was so frightened that she turned her gun and aimed at the nearby warehouse, staring nervously. Morin lightly stepped on the pedal, and Sirius slowly drove out of Geneku. At the same time, a violent explosion occurred halfway up the mountain, and a white warship and a rugged-style aircraft appeared in front of everyone. 8. Natural contradictions, pre-war preparations. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Lieutenant Natal Bakaluru saw the two machines below excitedly and thought they were both his own. But the sudden sound of radar alarms from the warship pulled her back to reality. What's going on with this aircraft? Lieutenant Bakilyulu, it's unclear that MS sent a request to board the ship. The information he sent shows that the aircraft belongs to the Aube Defense Independent Army and the pilot is Lieutenant Morin. He just helped repel Sigu. Have you repelled Shigu? We are allowed to board the ship, Bucky Lulu hesitated for a moment and said. At this moment, Kira supported the crowd with both hands and flew over Sirius towards the Archangel. Morin, who received a response, followed closely behind. After arriving at the gate of Naku and launching a surprise attack, Kira also emerged from the cockpit. Mu and Bakilyulu, who had just taken the Zero, ran over and were stunned when they saw a young man driving. After the Allied soldiers greeted each other, Morin's Sirius constellation also appeared in front of everyone. Oh, is this also our body? We managed to keep two of them, Mu said. This aircraft belongs to Aube and had just received permission to board the ship. When he repelled Sigur, he agreed, Natal said. At this moment, Morin opened the cockpit and descended. Marshall felt very familiar as he watched the falling figure. After landing, Morin slowly took off his helmet and said to Matthias. Whether you're surprised or not, Lieutenant Matthias. Morin, how could it be you? Matthias couldn't believe he appeared in front of him in this way. In fact, when Morin ascended to the Archangel, in addition to testing the body and increasing combat experience, there were also task prompts on the system panel. Task: boarding the Archangel until reaching Aube. Reward: mastery in shooting. It is not simply shooting with a gun, but multi-angle blockade shooting, which is an extremely high MS shooting technique that can be added to floating guns. Note: rewards will be issued after the Archangel lands on Earth. Let me introduce myself. My name is Morin and I belong to the Aube Defense Independent Army. I hold the rank of Major. My transport ship was also destroyed by ZFT, which is considered to have been invincible. May I ask which captain is? I request to board the ship. In return, I will launch an attack to confront the enemy, but only to protect the Archangel. At this moment, Mu walked over and looked at Kira and Molin, asking. Are you both adjusters? This statement seemed to stir up a nerve in the joint soldiers, who quickly raised their guns and aimed them at the Aube crowd. Morin walked directly to Kira and others and said. We are both adjusters. As a neutral country, Aube has many adjusters, which is well known. Please put down your gun, otherwise I will consider it as hostile behavior. After speaking, his face turned cold, and the joint officers around him, including Mu and Matthias, were intimidated by the aura on Morin's body, and cold sweat flowed from behind. After all, Mu was one of the veteran Yuzi and was the first to report it, saying. It seems like I said something inappropriate, put down all the guns, it's not an enemy. At this moment, Morin turned to look at Kira and others and said. I am the last person to evacuate, and all the residents inside the satellite have entered the shelter. I didn't expect that there are still a few of you who missed the net. After finishing speaking, Kira asked if the opponent were to attack immediately, would you still drive the assault and launch another attack? This also made the Allied soldiers nervous again. Upon hearing Morin's question, Kira appeared very excited and said. Major, isn't Aube a neutral country? How could there be a war? Are you really a regulator? Asking such a brainless question, is what you just experienced fake? Turn your head and look at the Sirius constellation I'm driving, which was hastily built to protect the people. Let me tell you, the assault you're driving here is impossible for anyone to drive. If you can't take the initiative, just put on the gun and stand outside the bridge passively to defend against the enemy. By the way, adjust the energy output to 10%. The outer deck of the Archangel has an external energy interface. Upon hearing these words, Kira and others were deeply moved. They have always lived in a peaceful world and have no understanding of war. United everyone, hurry up and land to make supplies. The outside should be Zaf's top combat team, the cruise team. With that person's ability to attack the fortress without any accidents, they will come straight in with equipment. Right, Captain Mu. Ah, indeed, Cruz's words can indeed do this. Colonel Morin, can I ask why your body looks like a semi-finished product, not even wrapped in armor, it looks like. Mu didn't finish his sentence. And everyone can also see the skeleton in the legs, arms, and even waist of Sirius. It looks very ugly, right? Aube Elementary School has limited resources and not enough money, which cannot compare to your wealthy alliance, so we can only do this for now, Morin scratched the back of his head with a smile on his face. Everyone saw Morin's face change in an instant, sweating profusely and speechless. Afterwards, Matthias continued to serve as the captain, and after the Archangel landed, supplies began. Morin then carried up 2 huge containers of packaged accessories and personal belongings. Sergeant Maddock, one of the most excellent maintenance team leaders in the play, patted his forehead roast. Colonel Morin, are you moving? A whole box of personal belongings, there's actually food. Oh, I've caused you trouble, it's hard work. Morin still had a playful expression on his face, completely different from his tough attitude during the confrontation just now. Kira and others gathered together in the dormitory area after allocating accommodation, because there was an additional officer from Aube on board, so they did not feel as anxious as in the original work. And Kira has a separate single room because of the driving assault. 2 hours passed quietly, and it felt like an attack was coming. Morin opened the communicator to contact the bridge. Marshal, stop supplying and immediately take off. They should be almost ready for this long time. Although there are no civilians on the satellite surface, we still hope that everyone will not hit the keel support pillar when firing. After listening to it, Matthias picked up the phone and ordered, then said to Morin. Morin, how can we fight this battle? If that young man named Kira doesn't drive the assault, the only thing he can attack is a Sirius machine. Matthias, believe in his charm and use the captain's aura to persuade that little brat. I think he will take action. Don't look at his cowardice, he's actually crazy inside. Mashio, who had been teased by Morin in front of the entire bridge, felt a little embarrassed and said. Colonel Morin, please be serious. Alright, I'm ready to launch an attack here, everyone, come on. Morin said and turned off the communicator without a catapult, flying out with the assault gun. Then, he connected the power to the external deck and adjusted the power to only 7%, with a range of less than 1,500 meters. The power was barely enough to break through PS armor, but there was still more than enough to deal with Jean. 9. Internal battles within satellites. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Without letting Morin wait, there was a loud explosion, and the outer wall of the satellite was shattered. Jean, equipped with 10 giant missiles in both directions, rushed in. The last red aircraft also followed Jean into the interior of the satellite. The alarm inside the Archangel sounded loudly, and the CIC control panel displayed information about the incoming enemy. 10 Jean, equipped with large physical missiles, and there is also one behind it, which is GAT.X303 Holy Shield. What, did you get into battle so quickly? Ma Sulfur entered the room with his fists, and the G.Series machine was like his own child, but now it appeared on the opposite side. The first combat readiness status of the entire ship, with the artillery system set to manual control. The main gunner was obviously a newcomer and had no confidence at all. At this point, Mu took over the main position and said. Let me do it, Cruz really uses his fortress equipment to attack us. He really looks up to us. Morin saw a Jean charging towards him at the bridge, entering range and firing 3 shots in a row. As soon as Jean made a maneuver, he was hit by a second and third round of fire, causing the aircraft to explode and disintegrate in the air. The first shot of the empty gun dissipated after advancing a certain distance. The joint officers in the bridge were also impressed upon seeing it, which also stimulated Mu's competitiveness. This cargo is someone who likes to install X. Morin saw several other aircraft not rushing towards him, but wandering around and launching missiles, clearly calculating Morin's range. If you don't come, then I'll go over. Morin put down the cannon and stepped on the pedal, rushing towards the nearest machine. Even with only 46% output set this time, it is still much faster than the G series. Jean's miscellaneous soldiers saw it and fired missiles directly. In this world, miscellaneous soldiers can't survive for 2 minutes. After shouting in the cockpit, Morin Xiang picked up his waist-side double guns and directly detonated the flying missile. Then, he grabbed his big sword and swung it directly towards Jean. After all, the Jean driver is the adjuster. He dodged the first sword with a maximum output retreat, but before he could relax, the second sword had already come close. After clearing the first sword, Morin flipped sideways and then slashed in the opposite direction, which was completely a human action. Jean's pilot instinctively raised his hands out of fear, but the big sword cut Jean, including the cockpit, in half and flew away. Damn it, what kind of organism is this? How could it have such maneuverability? Why is it not in the intelligence? Notify everyone and be careful when responding. Cruz, commanded by Sirius, was convinced that it was this organism that almost killed him. Morin continued to fight, but after all, it was impossible for one person to block all enemies in such a large space. 2 Jean had already charged towards the Archangel. On the other side of the Archangel, 4 MSs also appeared. Corinth missile launch preparation, laser induction, missed the target. The idea is beautiful, but the reality is cruel. Jean fired 4 missiles in one go and hid behind the support pillar. Not only did he dodge 5 Corinthian missiles, but he also let the joint missiles hit the support pillar, causing the entire satellite to enter a level 9 alert state. Main gun firing preparation. Launch. The Archangel Lord fired at the 4 newly arrived Jean, but was directly dodged. 1 Jean was carrying a large gun, clearly a powerful beam weapon. Aslan, if you insist on following me, then let me see your fighting spirit. The driver speaking was Michel, who was attacked and killed first. Michel, you don't have to worry about me here. Aslan just wanted to confirm whether the person who attacked was his former friend Kira Yamato, so there was no intention of war in this matter. Morin has adjusted the output to reach 60% of the output, and has burst 3 Jean machines one after another. There are also 4 Jean and a holy shield. Michel saw Sirius in the air and said, "I'm going to deal with that guy, second team is flanking. Go." Morin saw 4 aircraft rushing towards him, either avoiding or dodging, and directly charged towards them. "Nanny, you dare to rush forward directly." Michelle was used to fighting natural people and had always been a brutal killer, so she felt proud on the battlefield. Sirius put away his sword, picked up his 2 guns, and began shooting, but the effect was minimal. The opponent was clearly an experienced elite. "Cut, your level is good, so I should take it seriously." Morin pressed the accelerator pedal deeper, and the body suddenly accelerated, charging towards Jean on the left side. How could it be so fast? It's too late. This miscellaneous pilot has good experience, but his experience tells him that he needs to explain it. As expected, Sirius rushed to the front with a quick stop and then flipped over, an inverted golden hook, and a beam of light from the tip of his foot, while the military knife popped out, cutting Jean in half from the center from bottom to top. Then, in the background of the explosion, he flipped back to center and accelerated towards another target. What kind of performance is this? How could anyone possibly do that kind of action? Damn it. Michelle's forehead was sweating and a little scared. Morin drove Sirius, with multiple beam swords on his arms and beam swords on his toes simultaneously unfolding, resembling the limbs of a holy shield. With the maneuverability of crushing, he rushed straight to the front of him, creating a four-blade flow. He then exploded two more before charging towards Michelle. This bastard, I'll kill you. Michelle's beam rifle kept shooting towards the rushing Sirius, like a high-energy one. Michelle, step back and let me come. Aslan rushed over after seeing the situation here. Aslan, be careful, this guy is too strong. Michelle ran away immediately. But how could the prey that Morin was interested in make him run away? Without waiting for Aslan to intercept him, he fired two shots in unison. After hitting 5 or 6 shots in a row, Michelle's body was directly destroyed. If he didn't run but attacked with Aslan, perhaps he could still avoid it. Aslan looked at his comrade dying in front of him, feeling very sad and angry. He piloted the holy shield and directly changed the MA form to launch the belly sea monster cannon. Although Morin dodged, he left a huge gap in the satellite wall, which was no weaker than the strong attack. Not to mention being the strongest mech in the G-series, let me see your melee skills. Morin gradually became crazy. However, the Archangel was still being attacked by 3 Gene planes, and Kira, who was watching the battle scene through the screen in the Archangel dormitory area, couldn't help but run towards Naku. At this moment, everyone felt extremely handsome when they saw that Morin had already destroyed 7 Taijin. Nah, Major Morin is really amazing. This is Gene. If we can shoot down one of them, we're all ace pilots, right? There are already 7 of them. Miliaria's eyes turned into a planetary shape, feeling helpless as she saw her boyfriend's child. 10. Kira joins the war and recognizes her friends. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Everyone watched the battle outside from the screen, but Kira's eyes only had the red machine. Whispering in his mouth. Aslan, is it really you? What are you saying, Kira? Sai-E on the side expressed concern. It's nothing. At this moment, Kira felt an uncontrollable impulse and wanted to go out and confirm. The internal battle within the satellite is still ongoing, and although the Archangel fought back cautiously, there were still many hits on key parts of the satellite, resulting in arcing. Who the hell is this person? He's so strong in melee. Aslan opened the holy shield, which had not been adjusted in the system yet, and so far he hasn't even touched a side. The 2 machines, one white and one red, intermingle from time to time, with sparks splattering everywhere. Both machines have 4 swords, but the holy shield is slightly more powerful than the pure beam saber of Sirius because it is a beam-covering physical sword. It's quite impressive. Driving a semi-finished product can sustain it until now, so I'll put in more effort and it'll be the interest on your shot. After speaking, Morin withdrew the multiple beam sword with both arms attacking the shield, grabbed the large sword behind him and stabbed it straight. The holy shield dodged the tip of the sword on one side, but Morin never thought he could hit at first. What he wanted was the holy shield side. I saw Sirius with his legs spread open, his leg sprayers exploding, and his body came to a halt, sweeping across the cockpit of the holy shield. Aslan gritted his teeth. The shield on his left hand was too late, so he could only raise his right hand. Although the physical sword did not directly cut through PS armor, the impact was still uncomfortable. Bang, the physical sword directly cut off the folding sword on the right arm of the holy shield, and then the thrusters were fully opened, instantly pulling it up. Nanny, this operation is really crazy. Aslan watched as he almost frantically paused, turned, and pulled up, each operation challenging the limits of humanity. Although he could perform these actions, his speed was far inferior because his body couldn't bear it. The towering Sirius, with both hands holding their swords high, pushes their back thrusters in reverse and directly strikes the holy shield. Wolf cub, even PS armor is enough for you to drink a pot. As soon as he finished speaking, the big sword struck the shield directly, with a huge impact force, causing the holy shield to quickly fall. Aslan felt uncomfortable all over due to the vibration and couldn't adjust the body at all. Although Morin has no intention of killing him, and even the entire top 4 are not capable of killing him, he will not easily let go. Put away the big sword, unfold the beam sword with your right arm, open the folding beam rifle with your left arm, and charge towards the holy shield again. If you can catch it alive, it's not too beautiful. But Morin's cockpit suddenly sounded an alarm, and Morin immediately stopped the aircraft from falling. What the hell, Kira? Damn it! A crimson beam of light brushed against Sirius and hit the supporting pillar to the side. It turned out that Kira, who was driving the assault, arrived with a sword-equipped assault, but he also held the giant cannon on the outer deck in his hand. He just used this thing to attack the direction of Sirius for a moment. Colonel Morin, I'm sorry, but I would like to confirm the pilot of the Holy Shield. He may have been my childhood friend. TMD, Kira Yamato, do you know what you're doing? Shooting at friendly forces, do you know what it means? Also, if the driver of the Holy Shield is your friend, what would you do? Are you rebelling? Kira was also asked and didn't know how to answer. Although he had a good brain, he still didn't understand the adult world. No, I'm sorry, Major. I think you're not a soldier, give you a chance. Humph. Your attitude will determine your fate in a while. Anyway, Morin put away his weapon and flew straight towards the remaining 2 Jin. The joint soldiers inside the bridge didn't look good. They were originally quite happy to launch a surprise attack, but the target of the attack was actually Sirius. Ma Sulfur, don't launch missiles anymore. I'll handle the remaining 2. The satellites are almost unsustainable. Okay, I'm sorry. Ma Sulfur looked at Morin's communication video, feeling inexplicably secure in her heart. 2 Jin also discovered the arrival of Sirius. Their giant missiles have been launched, and they only have physical rifles and swords on their bodies. Even if they go together, they probably won't last for 2 minutes. Upon seeing the failure of this mission, Cruz, commanded by Bisarius, directly ordered Addis, retreat. That machine is too powerful, plan again. 2 Jin machines received a retreat order, turned around and ran. Although they were not afraid of death, why would they seek death if they could live? Morin has been battling for nearly half an hour with 34% energy remaining. His physical fitness has only slightly decreased, but he dare not pursue Jin. His energy is definitely not enough, with 2 warships and even 3 G-boats. Now he is just a rookie, relying more on physical fitness and the performance of his body. The assault and the Holy Shield danced in mid-air within the satellite, but neither of them launched an attack immediately. Kira, you're Kira, how could you sit in this machine? Aslan, as a member of the Plant Prince Party, also had his pride. He received a retreat order, but did not leave immediately. To be honest, if Morin rushed up, he would never be able to run. Aslan, you're Aslan, how could you be ZAFT? Why attack Naples? How could you be a united soldier? You're clearly a adjuster, don't you know what they did? Aslan became even angrier after confirming that it was Kira, feeling that Kira had defected from the adjuster's camp. At this moment, Aslan saw that Sirius was about to come towards him. He knew that he was not an opponent now and could only retreat. He directly pushed back the strong attack and quickly changed his MA form to leave.